Uh, Very good afternoon, all. Myself, Rajendra Barhate. I am second year MB student from the Ajinkya D.Y. Patel College of Engineering, and today I am presenting my paper for the MSIRTC conference. And my topic is a review on the blockchain in cloud computing to enhance the relational database security. I'm get more help on this presenting this paper by guidance of Dr. Pankaj Agarkar. He is a head of computer department in Ajinkya College of Engineering. So, uh, thank you for being allow me to present this paper. And today's I'm for today's paper, my agenda will be here. Agenda will be here. Introduction of the paper statement, and then problem statement, objective of my paper, motivation, scope, literature surveys, and system architecture, advantage, disadvantages, conclusion, and the references. So let's go with the introduction. So as we know that every application in the IT industry is going to moving on the cloud, and there is a era. The today's era is called as a cloud era because the computation power and the space power and the other cost services issues are resolved by the cloud computing. So but the cloud computing is only useful, as well as there are some limitation to use the cloud computing as well, because when you move your application, the security of the services or the application data will be compromised, because you don't have any control on the cloud who is going to access your services, and what will be the impact of that. There is data stealing or the data hacking by multiple big organizations like Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, and all other things. So just keeping application on the cloud, it is easier to on the cost side, but it is also has issues with the security of the application. So today's I am going to focus on the security part for the database, relational database on the cloud. So in the in the overall of the cost of the project, there will be a 30% of the cost is going to be spent on the security. So it is not it will be a huge amount considering to the project cost. So what was the problem statement? When we move to the cloud and we host some services on the cloud, then we will we will have access to our services, but as well as the cloud is a shared space utilized by multiple customers. You will not sure, or you will not to know that how many others are also using the same shared space and they are hosting their services. In the cloud computing, we are getting elastic services to be get extended on the space size to allow the to overcome the space issue of the scalable applications. But internally the machine is shared on the same computer. Before cloud, you was having only one operating system, but nowadays on a single computer, if you have enough infrastructure, you can run more than 10-20 machines at a time, and you will feel that this is only the machine is only used by me, but behind the scene that server is used by other applications or other companies as well. And because of this is a public layer, everyone has access to the database access services. Anyone can host their services with the same machine you are also hosting. Sometimes there are so many applications which are critical on the or on the database side, like you have a very sensible data will get stored on the cloud. In such a cases, you will be very sure that my application is 100% sure, and that is the reason still banking services are not moved on to the cloud because of these issues. Because if you keep all the sensible data related to the transaction and all these things about the banking, or like um, secret mission of the government projects and all these things, you will have you are opening a door to be get someone hacked your data. Because in December itself, we have seen that there is a case happen in a IIM Delhi hospital, that around 50 millions patient data get hacked, and it is hacked by other countries hackers, and that data is sold on the dark web. So this situation, or these kind of stories, we are seen in past couple of times, and that's why we are trying to address something. Even if some cases the data of the application is targeted by the external security or the internal security, we will be having a kind of some sort of additional security. So motive objective, this was my objective of the presentation of today's paper. uh, as we cannot trust on the cloud, only because they are like they are secured by the firewall, or they are secured by extra security layers. But consider that there are instances also happen when the internal employees, they have not trustworthy, they are also playing the role of stealing your data and sending, or like buying that data on any cost to the external competitor which are in the markets. So such a situations, how we can avoid in the relational database services, that we are going to see in the today's presentation. So to protect a data even get hacked, no one can able to change that data. So, and the authenticity of the data is get maintained, because blockchain is such a technology which gives you the track that what will be the last transaction happen, and was that last transaction or last modification on that data was authenticated by the person, authenticated by the authority persons or not. So that was the things we are going to implement, we are implementing. So motivation, as I'm working already in the IT industry in more than 10 years, so I have closely seen couple of issues regarding the data security and application, how they hacked, and then what cost we has to be spent for to get just retrieve of the data. We have recently also seen or hear some word called as a ransom attacks. Such attacks are every day facing by IT applications on the cloud. To avoid such applications, and even if the data is get encrypted and put it into the database, there are so many techniques that hackers are trying to manipulate the data, and they are trying to misuse the data. So that blockchain is keeping a track of your past transaction is valid or not. So currently cryptocurrency is the one of the best example implemented on the um, blockchain technology. So project scope, in the project scope of this paper, we are trying to add additional layer of the security on the data in the database, to prevent any kind of attacks get on the data. That should be a minimum loss to the application or like a business, so that if it get hacked, no one can manipulate the data, so that the authenticity of the data will be remains as it is. So for this paper, I have taken the references of couple of a couple of papers which are shown in this tabular format. The first paper was already presented by an author called Praveen Kumar and Monica S. Saxena. Was their proposed proposed idea was like to secure a framework of the data in the cloud computing, but there was a limitation as well. So the performance of the database was doing slow, and yeah, so this was the taken for the reference. Another paper was presented in the data security to improve the RDBB in flexible and can be operated according to the data owner specification. So this was the technique, but at the time when we use this, when they use this paper, there was every time the new record was created, and so hence the size of the database was increased. So this was the kind of literature survey I did for the this paper presentations. Going to the next slide of system architecture. In system architecture, I am going to explain how the traditional database systems was used and working, and then how the blockchain is working. What are algorithms we have seen, like to do the hashing of that database data, to encrypt the data and keep into the database, how the data is stored on multiple models. So even if one of the model get hacked, so other models will keep the data secure, so that you can recover the data after it get hacked. So authority persons are only allowed to modify or like give the approval system to access that data. So these are the things we are seeing in the system architecture. So in this diagram, in the left side, we have a traditional database system which was earlier used, where database is directly accessed and the data is kept as in the non encrypted format, so that if the attack was happen on the machine, you will by directly have access to the data which is a readable format, and that was the easier to hack. But in the blockchain format, we are trying to keep the data in a database, when every times if data get changed, that additional bit of the change will appended to the records, and that will maintain for the next transactions. Like consider if in the cryptocurrency, you will know that from where this currency was get transferred. But in now recent transactions, if you are using in a bank transaction, there was like no track. Someone can insert a cash amount in your accounts, or they will manipulate the things, so that this will be a additional things for the banking. They will keep the track of the money, from where the funding was raised, how many who has that funding was distributed, and all these things. So going to the algorithm, so in the algorithm, we have used SHA-256 algorithm to encrypt the data. Basically, if you see the below diagram has a blue lines are a readable format data, then that data get encrypted into the encrypted hash function, and it will converted into a digest, and that digest is stored into the database. So this approach is used into my paper. Conclusion, coming to the conclusion, the main target was to just keep one more additional security for the database, which are stored into which are moved to the clouds, and to keep the work in future work, we can also able to see some machine learning techniques that which can be applied for the better hashing and comparison for the database, to improve the performance of the database processing. So these are the references which are already shown for the literature survey. And thank you. Thanks for giving time. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, sir, for your kind presentation.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing me. Bye. Have a good day.